Managing supply and managing demand is very critical for any supply chain to optimize profits. Sales and operations managers play a very important role in making sure that there is good coordination while managing supply and demand in a supply chain. So, in this chapter, we look at situations where we have predictable variability, and there are many situations like this where we have some idea about variability in demand. So, for example, winter jackets sell more in winter compared to summer, and similarly, there are items which will sell more in summer compared to winter. Predictable variability is change in demand that can be forecasted. So, when we have a situation like this where we have periods of low demand followed by high demand and so on, so what happens is if a business decides to create a manufacturing capacity to take care of this peak demand, so that capacity will be idle during low demand period. So that will definitely increase the cost. And at the same time, it can also create a problem of decreased responsiveness. So if a manufacturing company decides to have a capacity which caters to low demand, then at the time of peak demand, responsiveness is going to be a problem because that item may not be available in sufficient quantity to take care of the demand. So there are two broad options that can be used. One is we try to manage supply. So this can be done by using capacity or inventory or going for subcontracting, and also it can be handled via backlogs. The second option is to manage demand, so using short-term price discounts. So if we can attract customers before this peak demand period, and if the customers are ready to buy early so that they can take advantage of these discounts and promotions, so we'll be able to shift some part of this demand to low demand period. So that can be done by managing demand. So very often supply management is done by manufacturers and demand management is done by retailers. So this division of work sometimes has negative impact on the supply chain because manufacturer and retailer may not have good coordination and they may be taking supply management or demand management decisions independent of each other. So that supply chain obviously cannot maximize supply chain profits. But when there is a good coordination between manufacturer and retailer at the time of supply management and demand management, so that can help to maximize supply chain profits. So let's look at this in more detail. A business can manage supply by controlling either production capacity or inventory or a combination of these. So capacity can be managed by making use of time flexibility from workforce. So most of the businesses do not run in all three shifts, and they also have holidays on Saturdays and Sundays. During that time, capacity is idle. The machines are basically not running. So time flexibility from workforce means that capacity can be utilized by making use of workforce during those times when the capacity is idle. For example, when the demand is high, some people can be asked to do overtime on Saturday or a Sunday, or also it can be during the third shift. So that's how production capacity can be varied. Some companies also make use of seasonal workforce. So for example, during holiday season, most of the retailers, they hire temporary workers. Most businesses have regular workers who are full-time, but also make use of part-time workers from time to time to take care of seasonal demand. So many times businesses make use of subcontracting companies. So they get their work done from outside company, and this outside company basically optimizes their processes by working with many different companies. Another approach is to make use of dual facilities. One is specialized. So the specialized facilities produced at a stable rate, whereas variability in the demand is handled by flexible facilities. So these flexible facilities are flexible in terms of both volume and product. Another approach is to design product flexibility into production processes. For example, if a production process can be designed in such a way that it can produce items that are in demand during summer, as well as if it can produce items that are in demand during winter, so that kind of process can be used throughout the year. So inventory also can be used for managing supply. If we have common components across multiple products, so that can help in managing supply. So for example, in car companies, they have one engine that can be used for many different cars. If this car is in high demand, but this is not, and this car is in the high demand, so having the same engine balances these things and helps in managing supply in a proper way. On the other hand, if these components are not common across products, for example, this engine can only be fitted in this car, this only in this, and so on. What will happen is if demand is high for this and low for this, and high for this, it will be difficult to really manage supply properly. Build inventory of high demand or predictable demand products. If there are times of low demand followed by high demand, so for example, if the production level is like this, then during low demand period, we'll be creating inventory, whereas that extra inventory can be used during high demand period. So one way to manage demand is to make use of promotion. 3 factors lead to increased demand: market growth, stealing share, and forward buying. So for example, if a car company offers a promotion and they offer some kind of discount, what that promotion can do is it can create interest in more buyers to buy that car, and that way it will grow the market. Or it could take away share from their competitors. By offering discounts on their product, they are able to attract a customer who was planning to, let's say, buy Honda and sees a promotion by Toyota and ends up buying a Toyota car. Or it can have an impact on forward buying. So let's say someone was planning to buy a car after 2-3 months and then suddenly sees this promotion and sees that there will be a $3,000 discount if he is going to buy now. So that may impact decision of the customer to buy it earlier to take advantage of this discount. So out of these 3, first 2, they lead to increase in demand, whereas this third one basically shifts the demand to slightly earlier period. If there is a period of low demand followed by a period of high demand, so some of this extra demand may go towards lower demand period. So that can also help to balance things in the supply chain. So 4 factors impact timing of promotion. So if the impact of promotion results in forward buying, obviously timing of promotion has to be chosen properly. So whether this promotion should be given during low demand period or should it be given during high demand period, so that has to be decided. So cost of holding inventory is also important, because whether this promotion is timed during the peak demand period or low demand period or just before the peak demand, so all that can have impact on cost of holding inventory. Another thing to look at is cost of changing level of capacity. Product margin also will have impact on timing of promotion. Let's look at one example of sales and operations planning at Red Tomato Tools. So this is a gardening tool manufacturer company, and they sell their tool via one of the retailers, which is Green Thumb Gardens. So for these tools in March and April, they see highest demand. So if you look at the manufacturer, they will like to see promotion in low demand period so that they can reduce their manufacturing cost. But if you look at retailer, Green Thumb, they will like to do promotion in peak demand season so that they can maximize their revenues. Let's say we have this data available to us. From January to June, we have demand forecast values. So you can see in March and April, demand is highest. We also have some cost numbers like material cost, inventory holding cost, cost of stock out, hiring and training cost for the workers, cost of layoffs, labor hours, regular time, overtime, and marginal subcontracting. So we make use of this data. So this template has all the information that it needs to come out with what is the optimal solution. So basically our decision variables are these cells from B5 up to I10. So we want to understand how many people should we hire, how many people should be laid off. We also see that we start with 80 people in the workforce. We also need to decide about how much overtime to give. We are assuming that we are starting first month with the inventory of 1000 tools, and then we need to figure out when we'll have stockouts, when do we subcontract, how much we should produce. So this is the demand and this is the price for each tool. So we have set this up in such a way that we can use solver. So basically we want to optimize in such a way by taking into account demand and all the costs and the revenues. And the idea is to minimize the total cost. So if we run this model without any additional thing like promotion or discount, let's see what we get. And that will be our base case. Later on, we'll compare that number with situations when we do promotion in low demand period or promotion in peak demand period. So if we go to data here and then solver, so this is what you see. Objective function is in C22, so which is basically total cost, and we want to minimize this, and we want to do this by changing these values in yellow cells, and we have some set of constraints that we have generated here. So we want all these numbers to be integers. So for example, how many people will be hired or laid off, and also they are more than or equal to 0. So these numbers cannot be negative. So these are months actually. So this is January, 2 is February, March, April, May and June. So we are assuming that at the end of June, we have at least 500 items in the inventory. So this is what this constraint says. And then G10 is 0. So we end this period with 0 stock out situation. So when we hit solve, so solver has found integer solution. So what we get here is total cost is $422,660. Total revenue is $640,000, and we also have profit number here. So we are going to use this as a base case. So now let's consider that we do promotion in January, which is a low demand period. So instead of $40, the price is going to be $39 in the month of January. We are assuming that as a result of this promotion, consumption is going to go up by 10%, and also there will be forward buying of 20% from next 2 months. So remember, demand in January is 1600, and because consumption goes up by 10%, so we multiply this by 1.1, and then you add to this 20% of 3000, which is demand for the next month, plus 20% of 3200, which is demand for the month of March. So this comes to 3000. So that's what we see here as a new demand. So let's try to get this solution in the solver. So to get the solution, what we do is in this cell, the question is whether we do the promotion. So 0 is no and 1 means yes. So we put 1 here. And then it is asking us which month promotion is done. Is it 1 or 4? 1 means January, 4 means April. So we would say 1. And then you can see consumption is 10%. So consumption goes up by 10% and forward buy is 20%. So we go to solver. So solver is already set up to find minimum total cost by taking into account all the data that we have. So we hit solve. So it finds a solution. We'll keep the solution. So this is what we get. So remember earlier we had total cost which was slightly higher for the base case. So cost has come down slightly and profit has gone up. So now it is $221,320. So you can see there is some inventory in various months, and there are also situations of stock out, and also the company needs to do some subcontracting. Now let us change promotion month from 1 to 4 or April and see what we get. So other things remain same. So we go to solver and hit solve and we keep the solution. So you can see cost has gone up and profits have come down. So let's compare these two results. So if you compare the cost, we find that cost is lower for promotion in January compared to promotion in April. And you can also see supply chain profit is much higher compared to promotion in April. Another thing you can notice is inventory levels are much lower when promotion is done in January, which is a low demand period, compared to inventory levels that we see for promotion in April. Similarly, stockout situations are lower in January compared to stockout situations that we see for promotion in April. So this optimization clearly favors low demand period for promotion. Now let's consider slightly different situation with same data. So we are assuming that these promotions have big impact on the demand. So they increase demand significantly. So earlier we had 10%, but now we consider a situation where demand increases by 100%. We keep forward buying still at 20%. So let's do these calculations using the template that we have. So first we'll do this calculation for promotion in January. So I'm going to change this to 1, and consumption we are going to change to 1, which will indicate there is 100% increase in demand. And we run this model. So this gives us a different total cost, 456,000 plus, but the profit is now 242,000 and above. So we'll keep this. And to get the numbers for promotion in April, we change month to 4 and run this model again. So this gives us an even higher total cost, but profit is also higher. So let's compare these two on the same slide. So when the promotions have a big impact on demand, you can see total supply chain profit is higher if the promotion is done during peak demand period. Although total cost also goes up significantly, but since the revenues are higher, we end up with more profit. You can see the costs are higher also because inventory levels are much bigger when the promotion is done in April compared to January. And we also have more stockout situations compared to January. So let's look at the overall picture in the next slide. So we have seen this baseline where regular price is 40. With no promotion, we give a promotion price of $39, $1 discount. When the promotion is done in January, the percentage increase in demand, we are assuming 10%, and forward buy, we assume 20%. So we got $221,320. When we do the promotion in April, we see that the profits for the entire supply chain comes down. Inventory levels increase in April compared to if the promotion is done in low demand period. And then we have situations where demand goes up 100%. And we have seen that in that situation, we should do promotion in peak demand period. Although our average inventory levels go up drastically, but because revenues are much higher, we end up with higher supply chain profit. But what if regular price is $31? Here we are considering situations where profit margins are smaller. So if $1 promotion is given during low demand period, and suppose it ends up increasing demand by 100% and followed by we still consider 20%, then the supply chain profit is going to be 84,280 with the average inventory level of 232 units. But if same promotion is done in April, which is peak demand period, profits will fall drastically. From 84,000 it comes down to about 69,000 and average inventory goes up to 1492, which is what we had for earlier situation. So because here profit margins are smaller, it will be more profitable to go with promotions in low demand period. So we have seen via this example how we can time the promotion by taking into account various costs associated with managing capacity or managing demand and find out what will be the optimal supply chain profit.